Welcome to Santabarbara Now. I'm your host, Assemblyman Angelo Santabarbara. We have a great show lined up. We're going to be talking to a local Boy Scout from Troop 357, a group that I see around the community quite often. Oliver Preston is here with us. He's my first guest, and later on we're going to be talking about Schenectady's greenhouse in Central Park. So stick with us after the break. But to start, Oliver, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for being here. And I know quite a bit about Boy Scout Troop 357 because we cross paths quite a bit, actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And as I was telling the audience, you guys are engaged in the community quite a bit. Mm-hmm. You do a lot of things. Veterans is one of the things we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to start off with just introducing yourself. And you have just completed your Eagle Scout project.
Almost there.
Almost?
I'm working on the paperwork. Yeah, that's a big process, like one of the biggest parts of it. But over the summer at Vale Cemetery, we did this big flagstone pathway. It was like something like 120 feet, where it went. It separated the Muslim from the Muslim graves from the rest of the Vale Cemetery because for some reason I can't remember right now, but that's why they wanted that little divider right there. So we built that. It took like 3 days. A lot of man hours, but it was a really good project.
A lot of work goes into these projects, and we celebrated quite a few We had quite a few Eagle Scout ceremonies, and every project is community oriented, like you're describing. It's giving back, and at the ceremonies, what's so nice is that the community is there to celebrate with you.
Yeah, it's really great.
And each step of the way, the project as it gets done, I think it means a little. The momentum builds, and the community sort of gets ready to see something that's going to be long term. And I've seen things built that survived the times, and people come back later on in life and see that project still standing.
Yeah,
which is I think this project definitely falls into that category. So Troop 357. Why did you want to become a Boy Scout?
Well, before that, I was in the Cub Scouts. I was like Pack 58 or something. And I knew I wanted to go into the Boy Scouts because I love just being with my friends and always doing stuff and going camping and stuff like that and being outdoors and just helping out in the community as well. And then when I went to 357 to go see if I liked it or not, I just liked the camaraderie of everybody there, and everybody got along so great, and it was just like a very highly functioning troop at the time. And so I decided that was a troop I wanted to be in, and I'm still glad that I took that choice.
And I know you do quite a bit of fundraising as well too.
Yes,
I see on your resume here. So what are some of the funds you've raised money? What are some of the causes you've raised money for?
Well, every year we do a food drive for I don't know what local food drive it is, but it's something like either Schenectady or Rotterdam, and we go out 1 week and we place bags on each doorstep, and then the week after we come back and hopefully people put out food for the bags, and we collect them, and then we give it to the food bank. And then another one is we have a bottle drive where we pass out slips saying there's going to be a bottle drive in a few weeks, and then again, if people put them out, we come up and collect them. And it raises a lot of good money for really good activities. So.
I've always admired the Boy Scouts and all the activities and the way you learn a lot.
Yes,
you learn a lot. Not just for raising money, not just for what you describe, but also what's behind it, the mission, the things that you learn about leadership, about courage, about working as a team, and serving in the Army Reserve through my training. Some of those same values are instilled through the Boy Scout code as well. Those things are going to be useful. Do you find that those things are going to be useful throughout your entire life, not just for your time here, but these are things you'll take with you?
Yes.
And I know the Boy Scout, your Boy Scout troop leaders, your troop leaders also at the Eagle Scout ceremonies. I see a bond that's created, and they teach you things that you may not be able to learn any other way. Is that what you're finding with your experience?
Yeah, definitely. Just like when we go on these camping trips, like the way we just get to do things together, like stuff you wouldn't really do. Like you don't really get to go kayaking down lakes and stuff like that with like every day of the week. So it's a good experience. Yeah.
And I know you talk about veterans quite a bit, and you've participated in a lot of veterans events. I know with the local Elks Lodge as well, Memorial Day, Flag Day. You definitely have an interest in veterans. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, both of my grandparents served in World War II and Korea, so it's definitely been a big part of my family. I feel like in order to serve them the way they served us, we should honor them and what they did for our country, and that's why I love doing the stuff for the veterans so much. And that's and then plus our troop is really founded in veterans as well, so they all have that sort of idea.
Yeah.
And so when it all comes together, we do a lot of events like that, and it works really well.
And through your experience, of course, I know the answer to this. Would you encourage others to get involved in the Boy Scouts?
I definitely would. It's a great experience. One of the best experiences you'll probably have in your youth life. Yeah.
What would you say to someone looking to get involved? Cub Scouts is the first step.
Well, not necessarily. You can just join the Boy Scouts at, I think the age is 11.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to join the Cub Scouts, you can do that. If you want to get in touch with Troop 357, you can go on their Facebook page. It's just Troop 357, Schenectady, New York, I believe. Then you can contact us through there, and that's then you can schedule a day to come in and meet us. Usually we meet on Thursdays, and they can just come in and see if they like what they see, and if they do, that's great.
Yeah.
And we'll welcome them with open arms.
Yeah, and each step of the way, of course, it is a journey, and I see that and seeing the new Eagle Scouts each year. And the badges all mean something.
Yes.
They're all, they're merit badges, they're called, right? And I see you have quite a few, and you're actually here to earn one of your merit badges.
Yeah, just to finish up my community.
Citizenship
in the community,
in
yeah.
the community. So you're going to be asking me a few questions at the end of
Yeah,
the show. But tell us about some of the merit badges you've already earned.
Well, in order to become an Eagle Scout, I think you have to have a total of 21 merit badges. I have, right now, I think it's either 26 or 29. I can't remember the number exactly. But so you have a set group of Eagle required merit badges, and then you have like a bunch of different merit badges that you can just take, like whatever ones you want. But some of the ones I've taken were emergency preparedness, swimming. I took rifle shooting, stuff like that. Just great stuff at camps in upstate New York. And those were the ones that I took that really stand out in my mind.
And these are all skills that,
Yeah.
as we said, you'll take with you the rest of your life. What are some of your other interests, your other hobbies?
Right now, I like to think I'm a prominent singer in my school group, Mahanason. I sing in an a cappella group. And also, sort of like what I want to be career oriented in is the criminal justice field. Right now, I'm in the Explorer post with Schenectady Sheriffs. So just a few weeks ago, we toured the jail, and that was a fun experience. Well, not fun, but interesting experience.
That's wonderful, and it's great to see that you're this is kind of in parallel with your schoolwork. You're able to do the Boy Scout path, and I think there is synergy, and it does one does help the other.
Definitely.
So it's great to see. It's great to have you here. So we want to earn that badge now, right? I see somebody's watching us
My
here
mom,
off
yeah.
camera. Yeah, she wants to make sure we
Gotta
earn
get
this
it,
badge.
yeah.
So this is called the Citizenship in Community
Merit badge.
Merit badge.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have to ask me a few questions
few,
to get it.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and ask the questions, and
All
let's
right.
earn this badge.
So after you completed, you became an engineer at University of Albany, and I was wondering why you wanted to become part of the assembly and in the legislature.
Well, it's kind of, some people may not realize this, but I did civil engineering. I worked in the field for about 15 years in the civil engineering field, and I did earn my degree and went on to become a PE, it's called, a professional engineer. But a lot of it is not just engineering and design. I found that a lot of projects did have to do with community because they affect the community in many different ways. So although it's sort of a technical field, it's also a public field. So you're involving the public with projects, sometimes infrastructure, community development. All these things go into a community and can affect the community in a variety of ways. That does involve following regulations, following laws, and developing, having input on that policy as well. So it's more connected than people think. So the transition, now seeing it from the other side, it's actually been very good. I think I'm the only, one of the few, or one of the only civil engineers in the state assembly, and so I have a unique perspective on aging infrastructure, like the issues that we're seeing right now, and it gives me a chance to advocate for those types of things, how water lines and sewer lines can affect the community. And we've certainly all seen flooding and those types of issues, and where smart investments can be made. And hearing it from an advocate that also served as an engineer, I think means a little more. And I'm great to be. It's great to be there to have that voice for engineers and for infrastructure.
Yeah, it's a great perspective to have in the assembly, so those people can have their voice in that part of the society. Another question I had was, what made you decide to want to found the AM Vets program that you have here in the Capital Region?
Oh yes, the MVets. The MVets is a great group, and I founded that that organization, the local post, Post 35, which started in Rotterdam and it's now actually grown to be a larger post. I served in the Army Reserve for 8 years. I also served on the Veterans Committee in the Assembly. I wanted to organize a group that would have a local voice for veterans. And communicate, and we have a lot of veterans organizations. I felt AMVETS was something that was missing in Rotterdam, something that we needed. I know we have some other posts, American Legion and some other posts in the surrounding area, the VFW. But this was something a little bit different for the town of Rotterdam, and they've been very active. The AMVETS post, it's been doing great work. They participate in a lot of the community events, a lot of the events that you go to. The AMVETS are there as well. But it's great to have that collective voice. Anytime you're organizing and having a collective voice for whatever group it is, it's always good to have people come together to advocate in numbers, to bring people together for a common cause. And we do communicate a lot of issues on how we can help veterans at a local level. And I bring that back to the Assembly, and it helps me do my job. That's not the reason I formed the post. I formed the post more so that veterans can get together and find out how they can give back to the community and things that they can advocate for. This actually formed before I joined the Assembly, but as it turns out, it's a great resource for me to have back in the community.
Well, we're glad you're taking part in that. And my last and final question is, do you plan on just staying in the Assembly for a while, or do you plan on bigger things to move forward to?
I ran for re-election because I feel like I had more work to do with issues around autism, infrastructure, some of the things we just mentioned, school funding. So this is something that I think we've been able to make a lot of progress on through the state assembly. We've been able to advocate for things that are important to my community, things for my children, my son, my daughter. I think this is a spot where I feel like I'm the most effective, something that it's the place that I want to be and want to continue serving my community.
That's awesome. Great.
So I hope that earns your merit badge.
I hope so too. I think it definitely
If
will.
there's any other questions, we'll have you back on the
shoot
show.
you an email, yeah.
But in the meantime, I want to thank you. I want to thank Troop 357. I'm sure I will see you again very, very soon because there's plenty of other events coming up in the community. It's been a great pleasure to have you here, Oliver. I wish you the best of luck. I will see you back at the school. I know you're in the marching band as well, so we're going to be doing some visits with the marching band. I wish you the best of luck in whatever you choose your future to be and all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on the show. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Schenectady's greenhouse. Stay with us after the break. The Autism Society of the Greater Capital Region has been a great resource, a great tool. If you look at their mission, it's exactly what it has provided for my family. It's a resource, it's a tool, it provides an avenue to advocate for autism awareness. When families have questions, they do the best to provide those answers. We're happy to be a part of this organization, and the Autism Society of the Greater Capital Region has been there for us, and they will continue to be there for families.
Camp Wildwood functions as our summer extension program, so all the academic needs the kids are identified with on their IEPs get accomplished in this camp setting. But to the kids will come, they'll get off their buses, they'll be greeted by their teacher or their teaching assistant, and then they'll go to their classroom, which might be a pavilion, it might be a cabin-like place, and then they get on with their day, which will include not only academic activities, but swimming, arts and crafts.
They have outdoor education once a day, and they alternate between outdoor education class and then opportunity at the pond to put those skills into practice. So they're down here fishing and riding on the boat. They're talking about water safety and the ecosystem that exists down here. They're catching frogs. frogs and fish, and it's definitely a place where the kids really like to be.
So when they go fishing, they actually go out on the boat and they put their poles in and
They do.
catch things and see the whole process.
And you wouldn't believe the life that lives in this pond. There are a lot of fish, as you can see. All you have to do is walk out onto
I
the
can see
pond
some of
and
these are
they
now
come right to you.
Yeah, our adapted aquatics program, we cover all areas from their physical fitness to their motor skills to doing group work together, increasing their self-esteem.
I think the whole program here at Wildwood does a great job of doing cross-curriculum activities. So things that they're working on, you know, at swim or at their classroom, they're also working on here at art, but in a fun and different and new way.
We've toured Camp Wildwood today because this is such a unique way of learning because a lot of it happens outside the classroom. What they teach is that your disability does not define who you are. That you can learn in so many other different ways. Autism does not stop my son from learning more and more about the world around him, and a lot of that happens here while he's at Camp Wildwood. Welcome back to the show. We had a great show so far. We've been talking about Boy Scout Troop 357. Now we're going to be talking about the greenhouse. Some of you may not know, but Schenectady is home to a wonderful greenhouse, actually a historical structure, in my opinion, that has needed some work and some improvement. It's something that we are trying to keep in our community. And through that, my next guest is the president of the Friends of the Greenhouse, which is an organization we're going to hear more about. We have Chuck Dorn, who is the president. Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show because I think we've talked about this greenhouse for quite a few years now, and some people may not even know where the greenhouse is or that the greenhouse exists, but let's start with that. Tell us a little bit about the greenhouse.
And you're right. A lot of people don't realize that we have 3 beautiful greenhouses situated right in the middle of Central Park, right next to the tennis courts. And in the past, those greenhouses have supplied the city islands with plants. That's something that kind of fell along the wayside now. Right now, it's it's run by the Cooperative Extension of Schenectady County, and one of the large projects that goes on there is the Roots and Wisdom project, which provides employment, gets people back into the employment stream, and at the same time provides fresh food to food pantries during the summer.
And in general, how unique is it to have a city like Schenectady that also is home to a greenhouse where you can do things that you just described?
I think, as you say, a city like Schenectady, maybe New York City, yes, but I'm not aware of any city at this level that has a greenhouse in their public park. I mean, not only is it unique, I think it's pretty cool too. You know?
And I've always been fascinated by greenhouses. I think it is, in my opinion, I don't know if it is or isn't, but I think it is a historical structure because it's been here for so long.
Well, actually, one of the greenhouses that is in Central Park is made of cypress wood. It's not a aluminum structure, and it was actually on the property of Charles Steinmetz.
So that goes back a while.
So yeah, and it was built for his home and later disassembled and reassembled at Central Park.
And at what point did your group decide, hey, it's time to do something about this? We can't let the greenhouse disappear and not be part of the Schenectady community anymore.
I kind of got in, I kind of stuck my toe in. There was this group, Friends of the Greenhouse, and they were kind of a quasi group. It was a group of people that got together, had interest in the greenhouse, but their volunteers, if you will, were really the staff of the Cooperative Extension. They would come up with an idea and they would push it on to Cooperative Extension. A few years ago, the facility lost the funding with the county. We got together, we did a 5K, raised enough money for the heat, because what happens is if you don't heat that greenhouse during the winter, it will have damage. We got together, we did that for 2 years, we paid the heat. A few things happened. We lost a director at the Cooperative Extension. At the same time, the OGS commissioner in the city left. One winter, there was no heat. We lost about 60 or 70 panels.
And what happens when there's no heat is that the glass can break.
It will break, and what's the big thing is the weight of the snow. What will happen is you have to go in there, if you have a snowstorm, you have to go in, fire up the furnaces, everything's got to melt off of the glass, or the weight will collapse the structure. And that is what happened. So when I heard about it in the spring, I thought, you know, frankly, I was afraid that we would lose the greenhouses altogether. I know if we lost one of those structures, funding being what it is today, we weren't going to be able to rebuild it. So I was able to pull people together from the former organization. I got some other people together, and we were able to start work groups up there. We then developed into we formed a not-for-profit because I didn't want to count on Cooperative Extension. They've got enough on their plate,
Sure.
you know. So we kind of became the stewards of the property. So right now, most of our work is in exactly that. I mean, as a matter of fact, I was dealing with the city and with a heating and air conditioning company today because the furnace did go down up there. So we've got somebody coming in. We've got some snow coming in this weekend, but not a significant amount. But they are talking some serious snow next week, I guess.
Yeah.
So we need to get that thing back up.
Yeah.
We've done, we have a fence project. We were able to get a grant from the Schenectady Foundation, the Carlisle Inn, and we've got a 600 feet of fence that's going to be replaced before the end of this season. The city is going in there and taking some trees down at their expense, and we're going to replace 600 feet of fence that is sorely needed. And that's another nice thing about this situation that we have. We've kind of formed a partnership with the city. We've kind of structured it along the lines of what the Woodlawn Neighborhood Association has done with the park up there. I mean, that park was a drinking and drug haven for a while, you know, and a group went in there, and it took them 4 or 5 years, but right now that park is a vital part of the neighborhood again. You know, they've got a new basketball court up there. They filled in the pool. They've got community events going there all the time. It's a centerpiece on their the Woodlawn garage sale. Yeah. You know, and what we're looking to do long term with the greenhouse is to turn it into the same type of horticultural attraction that the Rose Garden is. And we've actually, some of our volunteers volunteer with both. Pam Perlman, who is our treasurer, is also heavily involved with the Rose Garden.
And the Rose Garden is something that is known well beyond the Schenectady community. I know there's people talk about the Rose Garden in places that you wouldn't expect to hear about it, but I envision at some point the greenhouse will have the same effect. Greenhouses, as there's more than one. How do you, one of the things that you touched on is the educational part of this. There is learning to be done here as well.
Absolutely, and that's where Cooperative Extension comes in. And again, as I see us as stewards, but also as we're moving forward and developing the site, our goal is to develop it to Cooperative Extension's programs. Cooperative Extension's programs and dreams will drive what we are doing as stewards.
In this type of learning, really, without the greenhouse facility, it's kind of hard to do.
It's impossible to do. And they have busloads of students going in there all summer, and then in the spring and the fall. They have a tiny tot garden there. As a matter of fact, I'm going up tomorrow with my grandchildren who are 4 and 6, and they're going to be making bird feeders, completely natural bird feeders, not wooden bird feeders, but put together berries and everything else. And that's going to be in the classroom at the greenhouse. And Cooperative Extension puts those programs on year-round.
I know you just recently had a plant sale, some other fundraisers coming up. How do people find out? How do they participate? How can they make donations? How can they volunteer their time and effort?
Okay, we have during the summer we have Thursday night volunteer nights up there. Starts at 6 o'clock and we go to roughly 6 to 8 depending on when the sun goes down, and we do various volunteer cleanups, weeding, things of that nature. So folks can just show up for that. But we also have a Facebook page.
I see that, yeah.
And we have an email that I believe you'll be putting on the screen.
Yep, so look for them on Facebook, Friends of the Greenhouse. Your Facebook is Central Park Greenhouse, pretty simple.
Yeah.
And people can volunteer in a number of different ways, but also participate in some of the events. If you can't volunteer, you can, I know the plant
Absolutely,
sale.
we have the plant sale is we have a plant sale the weekend before Memorial Day in May, and 2 weekends after Labor Day in the fall.
And I know that if people want to visit, I know through the winter it may or may not be possible. If people want to just visit and tour some of the items that you just talked about, could they just show up, or would they have to make an appointment? Or
during the summer, when staffing is there, they're more than welcome to take tours.
And if they can't get on, if you can't get on the site, I know there's plenty of pictures on your Facebook where you can actually see some of the things you described, which is kind of nice. But nothing beats seeing it firsthand. So if you do get a chance to tour, I've toured it many times, and I learned a few things. I saw some things that I didn't know about greenhouses, and I do enjoy the idea of a greenhouse and having it nearby in the city. And I know certainly the educational opportunities alone make it a worthwhile project.
As a result of what we're doing, Cooperative Extension was able to attract some research projects into the greenhouse too. They just completed one on biopesticides.
And the opportunities are endless, and we're very fortunate to have it. I want to thank the Friends of the Greenhouse. I want to thank you for heading it up. If you can't participate, tour, visit the Facebook page, support the greenhouse. It is a resource we don't want to lose. You certainly have my support, as I've been to a few of these events as well. I'll continue to support. We appreciate that. I'll continue to support the initiative, the Friends of the Greenhouse program, and anything we can do from our office. But in the meantime, thanks for being on the show. We hope to have you back in the summer to talk about some of the events coming up and talk about the progress that's been made.
I would love to.
Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for joining us here on Santa Barbara Now. Join us again for the next episode where we'll talk more about organizations like Boy Scout Troop 357 and great community resources like Friends of the Greenhouse.